Hey, this is Bond Diesel, and today I'm gonna bring you a quick video talking a bit about the Division 2, the Division 3, what we know, which isn't much, and where I think we're going based on some pretty loose evidence and some personal hunches. The reason I do this is there's a lot of videos going around right now from some provocateurs, in my opinion, just looking for some clicks and attention. I'm seeing people do everything from claiming there's going to be a year 3 of Division 2, that and or to the idea that Red Storm is coming back to swoop in and save the day and do a big giant PvP patch. Okay, so the impression I'm under, for various reasons, and let me be very clear, that makes me no more credible than anyone else, even the people I'm calling out. But how accurate my predictions have been in the past, and know that I actually have a decent relationship with Ubisoft and such, which can't be said for a lot of the people who are, making some of these things up, who have often lied and just made stuff up for clicks. There may be some reason to believe me or not. That's up to you. So the main things I'm going to point out is job listings. The first one I'll point out is at Massive, which makes sense. There are 15 jobs currently listed as of today for an unannounced game. It's pretty obvious that Division 2 is in a holding pattern right now, and they don't seem to have a lot of people working on it, especially people that we've known in the past who have been prominent on things like State of the Game and so on and so forth. We also know from David Polfelt, his book recently, that they always like to be working on 2 IPs. We know about Avatar, that it's slated for release in 2022. We don't know what else they're working on, as Division 2 obviously seems to be in a released and support stage. So it's assumed that they're working on something else. And my best assumption, and other people's, should be probably a Division 3. Another studio that's worth taking a look at is Red Storm in North Carolina. They worked extensively on both of the first 2 Division games, and they currently have 6 jobs for a quote-unquote next AAA game. That's directly from those job listings. They also just posted or changed their banner on Twitter back to a Division related thing. It's a coin that says TCTD 2017. It has a rogue symbol on it. While that has kind of spurred a lot of the ideas of some like big PvP patch, I would not assume that. I would assume that this means that they are back working on Division, or at least a part of their studio is. One thing people need to realize, while we know, or many people know, Red Storm as the PvP side with Terry and the other folks there, we also need to realize that they've done a ton of like environmental work, modeling work. I believe in Division 1, they did a lot of the models for the guns. They did the Westside Piers. I believe they did the PvP maps for Division 2, the conflict maps. So something to realize is, just because Red Storm is working on the game again does not mean that they're just doing PvP, or that they're doing PvP at all. So something to keep in mind with that. The third example I have here is Reflections. They currently have 20 jobs listed for a unannounced project. They were an assist studio on the first 2 games. They worked pretty heavily on the Underground. I know for a fact they did the 1.8 Underground revamp that included hunters and a bunch of other stuff. I don't know what they had to do with the Underground, the initial release. I do know that the Underground was in development for a long time. I think a lot of people think that was post-launch content. I'm under the impression that the Underground was in development for a lot of time. It did not start development after the game released. So something to keep in mind. They are also kind of paired up with Leamington, which did a bunch of stuff with Division 2 as well. And really, with all of these studios, you could probably look at all of the studios that assisted with Division 2, and I bet, I just didn't take the time, I bet they all have listings for unannounced games right now. Now, to be totally fair, that could mean anything. That could mean there's a whole new IP being worked on. Maybe these studios, Red Storm and Reflections, are assisting with AAA games with other studios. The big thing to keep in mind with Red Storm, it seems like their primary work has been, since they haven't been on Division, has been helping that TV show with some of its graphics and stuff that they did, as well as VR games. VR, as far as I'm aware, is not considered AAA. So if they have openings for AAA games at Red Storm, they're obviously working on something much larger. And if you read through the descriptions, or if you see the type of hiring they're doing, it falls in line with a Division-esque game. Another point to talk about is the Season 4 story. This is where spoilers do begin. So if you don't want to be spoiled, then maybe skip ahead a little bit. But from the spoilers, which through seasons 1 through 3 have been like 95% accurate, we are under the impression that at the end of season 4, we will have Fei Lao as our final manhunt target. We will go after her at Camp White Oak. And as we get close to her, she's going to be meeting with the president, who had betrayed the nation, essentially, and sided with Black Tusk, or was like an inside man for Black Tusk. From the leaks, we're under the impression that Fei Lao kills him to frame the Shade Agency, and that's all we know from the leaks. And the impression I'm under is that that's going to set the entire Shade Agents, the entire group as rogue, and it's going to require a big story beat where the rogues are, the newly rogue agents are going to have to clear their name. And that's what I think a Division 3 could lead to. That also would explain the creation and introduction of Anna, which was Keener's rogue version of Isaac that piggybacked off of the Isaac system. It seems weird that they introduced that character only to hear a few lines and then it essentially disappears. So I think that watch that our agent has from Keener is going to play a big role in a potential third game. And I think season 4, as I've said before, I believe is the final update that Division's going to get, or at least new content. And I think that will conveniently end around the 2-year anniversary of Division 2 this coming March. And I suspect that we will have another state of the game open up where Hamish is sitting there and Julian Garrity and Matthias Carlson and other people in the upper echelons of management of Division, and they will talk to us about Division 3 beginning development, and that's probably it. Or, development would be well underway currently, but they will officially announce that it's being developed and worked on. And I'm guessing for a March 2022 release. Maybe COVID-19 and so on will determine a lot with that. Just some other thoughts and tidbits on this. It seems like Division 2 is pretty much done. Again, I'm kind of making this video because I've seen some kind of baseless claims. Keep in mind that some of the people making these claims that they've heard, or that there's a rumor, are some of the same people who made fake PTS emails and NDA emails. And, there seems to be in this community this kind of window of creator that has, 5 to 15,000 subs, gets, a few thousand views a video, and just really depends on this really clickbaity stuff. I know this video is only probably going to get maybe 100, maybe a couple hundred views, and that's fine. But I hope this video is something we can come back to in a few months and people can be like, oh, hey, Bon was right. I hope I am. Kind of, in a way. What I will say, the other thing that I was going to talk about is how, the leaks that we got from the PTS 9, TU9, didn't mention anything past season 4, which is, approaching very quickly. I had a Twitter post a while back posting about a job Massive had open that very specifically talked about an RPG action adventure game. And I believe it even mentioned things like shooting mechanics and things like that. It's now deleted, it's gone, and the same job listing appears to be listed, but with much less detail. So I suspect that was a very purposeful change. And when I posted about that on Twitter, it got responses and a lot of attention from a very large number of especially massive developers and employees, as well as other people at Ubisoft. So it seemed like kind of a wink, wink, nod, nod. I mean, a part of this is just my personal feeling that it seems obvious that Division 2 is kind of a skeleton, and it has a skeleton crew at this point, and it's not like Ubisoft is just going to allow a studio to have a whole bunch of people just hanging out, not doing anything, especially during the COVID-19 situation and so on. And then the final bit is, I don't really want to delve into what I think a Division 3 would be. I obviously have some ideas. I've been speculating for a while. I already talked a bit about what I think the story could be, but location, features, change. I think people need to realize that when Division 1 was in development, gaming was in a very different spot. The Xbox One and the PS4 were just coming out. The whole idea of games as a service and these looter shooter games were just getting big with games like Destiny. I think people need to realize that there's a decent chance that a Division 3 is a very different game. My biggest hope is that it's a next-gen only game. I hope that a Division 3 does not play on the Xbox One or PS4. If people think back to that 2013 trailer of Division and all of the things it had that we did not get in Division 1, and that we got some of them in Division 2, from personal conversations I've had, there's a big insinuation that this game was too ambitious for the last gen. It just was, from a memory streaming standpoint, from a graphics standpoint, from a AI standpoint. They just, even when the systems were brand new, their ideas and their tech and what they wanted to do with the game was beyond what they were ever going to do with the old systems. So I really hope if there is a new game coming, that they are able to kind of spread their wings and really dig in with the new systems as the baseline. We'll have to wait and see. I do plan on doing another video talking about Division 1, Division 2, things I thought worked and didn't work, things I would like to see carry over, things that weren't in either game that I would like to see added or changed. We can talk about PvE, PvP, setting, city, time of year, and so on and so forth. But I will leave that for another video. That's it for this one. If you want to catch me on Twitch, I might be streaming right now. Search for Bond Diesel over on Twitch. You can catch me on Twitter at Bond Diesel. You can also catch my podcast, The Echo Cast, on all major providers, including YouTube. If you're looking at this video, there should be some of those around it. That is a weekly podcast. You can also follow it on Twitter at The Echo Cast. That's all I've got for you. So until next time.
What?